Hi there, listener. This is Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International, with me, Ian Willoughby. My guest this time is Antonín Kokeš, the man behind Antonínovo pekařství, a successful chain of bakeries here in Prague. The Moravian-born entrepreneur is also the owner of Albi, a company best known for the board games that can be found in many Czech homes. And we discuss both those businesses and much more at a new branch of Antonín's bakery due to open on the 1st of May on Náměstí Míru. And indeed, workers were still applying the final touches to the grand space when I spoke to Antonín Kokeš for this edition of Prague Talk. You've said in the past that your grandfather was your role model in business. I presume that was before the communist era began?
It was really like even before communist era. He started his business around 1915, He was a salesman. He was selling white clothes. I don't really know what that means today. He had some specialty store, and his main business was going to the markets. I grew up in Vyškov, quite small city near Brno, and nearby is a Křtěný church, which is a legendary space for pilgrimage. So he went there to sell on the markets there.
Also, he built for you, when you were a kid, for you and your brother, some kind of a shop, a wooden shop or something?
Yeah. We were trading all the time with my brother. We made fake money. So it was maybe my first business experiences.
Well, do you think that kind of stood you in good stead when communism fell and you could start doing business? Were you already kind of business-minded?
I don't know. I was, first of all, drinking-minded.
Well, you were a student, right?
I was in my first or second grade. But I think maybe not a business-minded, but I really wanted to do things on my own and my way. And, I didn't have really in my head like to have a business, but I wanted to do something on my own, We started with my friend making photographs, the black and white, and that was a lot of fun, so we had a little bit of business there too.
But your company Albi started selling postcards on Old Town Square, is that correct?
Yeah, correctly. We saw an opportunity that the tourists were coming. You couldn't buy a postcard normally because they were sold behind the counter. So we said, okay, let's start selling postcards.
And in those days, how many were you selling a year, for example?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's 30 plus years, 34 exactly. The first day we sold a box, so it was 1,000 cards a day. And I think gradually we were selling millions.
Well, you started with postcards, but then your company Albi, which now you are the sole owner of, expanded into board games and gifts. You also have a network of shops in Czech Republic and Slovakia. When it comes to licensing games, when you license games from other companies or other countries, how do you know which ones are going to work for the Czech market, or Czech and Slovak markets?
Whenever you do license, it's not only games, but games are a little bit tougher than the other things. It's first to understand the difference between the audience. And for instance, I can give a really good example, a bank. It's now one of the most successful games on the Czech market. But it doesn't work in other markets so well. I know that we are one of the best-selling countries on the globe, because I think Czechs really like fun games and some kind of tricky, because bank is about hiding and tricking, So I think the only way that we test and play and give the games to friends that can give you really the honest feedback, whether they like it or not.
And do you tweak the games? Do you make small changes for the Czech market?
Oh, yes. Sometimes the rules are complicated. We make a little bit easier rules, or sometimes we make some variations. But to be honest, like the basic of the game must remain, so we don't change the rules.
When it comes to older games, like, for example, Ludo, which in Czech is called Člověče nezlob. When it comes to a game like that, I presume there's no copyright or anything. Is it like an old book?
Yeah, this is quite funny because people think that Ludo is old thousands years, but it's not. It's like Scrabble. It's quite a new game actually, or Monopoly. So yeah, for Ludo, I don't think you have special rights.
While the company was taking off in the initial years, you went abroad to study. You went to the States, to the University of Pittsburgh to do an MBA. Why Pittsburgh?
Maybe I a little bit will correct you, or because it wasn't a foreign university, the American one, but I studied most of the time here. That was for me the crucial point. I could not afford to go abroad for a long time because I was still running the company, almost every day. But I had the chance because we were two owners in the beginning, so that I could say now I'm for 1 month off. So I spent 1 month in the university and then I returned. And I really liked the program because it was designed for managers with some experience. So it was very helpful that it was not only theory, we discussed many business cases, and also I shared the knowledge, I shared the know-how approach to problem solving with many times more experienced managers from the school.
And is it the case also that in America you somehow worked with Hallmark?
It's a little bit of connection, American dream or America for business is obviously the source of inspiration, and Hallmark is our long-term partner, and I admire the company for its history. They celebrated 100 years, it's fourth generation now running the business. It's still a family business, which in a way I admire. I know that for many people, for many businessmen, the ultimate goal is to go IPO on some stock market, but I think that there is a big value in the family business.
In what sense is Hallmark your partner?
We are licensing partner, but it's not only licensing the product, it's sharing know-how, We visit each other very often, we have seminars, and we share, We share the know-how, we share the approach to the customer, to the market, especially here in the European region, where the differences between the markets are huge. I mean now in the card business, which is so helpful to understand how to approach different customer.
Well, here in Czechia, Albi is known in every household. Everybody has your games and other products. I was reading that in recent years you've also made some inroads into the Polish market, but this was difficult initially. Why was it hard, and how far have you gone in Poland?
Okay, now I can be a little bit more optimistic. If you asked the same questions 5 years ago, I would be telling a completely different story. So by the end, we are very successful on the market. We have a fantastic cover with our product, with the pen, and it's a very difficult market, to be honest. We struggled for many years, almost 15 years. I underestimated the difference between the customer and between the business partners. The way the people in Poland do business is different. I don't want to say it's worse or better. They just do it slightly differently. For instance, they are more open to new suppliers. Here we are very traditional businessmen. We have a good partner. It's the same with me. We work with them. If someone new comes, I have someone. But in Poland, if you knock at the door, we are a new supplier. Okay, let's try. So that was the first lesson that I learned. Another lesson that I learned from Poland is that the people have a different humor, different style. You think we are Slavic nations, they speak very similar language, they have a similar history, but humor is far, far different.
Is it the case also you're planning to do more business in America in the future?
Oh yes, we just recently had a show on the trade fair in Philadelphia, which was very lucky for me. They said, it's very close to Pittsburgh. And I was happy that we could a little bit touch the water, and feel what it's like. We are already selling a couple products there. We have many customers. We also work with Amazon as a supply chain. So I think it's a great potential, but it's a big market, so the problems are there.
Is there a danger also that Trump's economic policies could somehow impact your plans?
Oh, I never thought about this. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't think that politicians have such a big influence on the business. Obviously, they have a big influence like now with the tariffs. But you see that I think that in a couple months, the business will go its own way. I think it's the same as in Czech Republic. We watch the politics, but the normal life many times go its own way.
11 years ago, you entered a different business, the bakery business, with bakeries called Antonínovo pekařství, Antonin's Bakery. What led you to try that whole area?
The original idea where I really started thinking about the business was my journey or a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela. That was my 10-year on etap journey. We didn't make it whole because it's 2,500 kilometers from Prague to Santiago. But in Germany and in Switzerland and in France, we saw so many bakeries and cafes where you can have a really easy coffee and just have a chat with your friends, And I said, why don't we have it here? And especially in France, where you have boulangerie antisson, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the bakery where you bake on a spot, where the baker really works with the dough. There is no frozen or pre-baked product, and I really love the atmosphere, So I said, let's try this on Czech market. Let's try it. I had many visits to my friends that do in this field. They all said, please don't start this business. It's so difficult and risky.
Well, what do you think you've done right in that case?
It's so hard to answer because there are many things. It's a big puzzle. There is not one thing. I think the right thing that I focused on a quality product, but not overpriced. Many times I think the problem is that you do really great product, but it's too pricey, So we definitely had to have higher prices than in a supermarket. The thing is, I wanted to have a high quality bread, and I said the price must be more than 50, 60 crowns, which those days was really quite a lot for bread you could buy for 20 crowns in the store. But I said, but a pack of cigarettes is 100 crowns. And people buy every day one a beer is, 40 crowns. I said, why would people won't pay for so much for bread? So I said, yes, people will buy bread for 50, 70 crowns.
When you first started, what did a rohlik cost?
Our rohlik was 3 crowns as far as I remember.
Now it's 6, is it?
It differs, yeah. It goes from 4, 5 up to 12, yeah.
And say when you increase the prices, which you have to do, is that something you give a lot of thought to? Because I know people do react badly when they see now the rohlik costs 10 or whatever.
We try to be as sensitive as possible, but sometimes if all inputs go up, you must it's a business, it's not my hobby. People think like it's a hobby. I said, definitely I like it as a hobby, but if the hobby is losing money, it's not a good hobby.
You also have a bread called Antonin's Bread, and the bakery is named after you. Why use your own name?
I didn't want to be honest. But some people said, but it's a great name for a baker. But I said, I'm not a baker. I'm a manager of a bakery. But people won't care. It's just a nice name for bakery. So first time in my life I had to accept my name because I didn't really like, because it's, when I was young, it was a very old-fashioned name. Now it's in, People like the old styles names. But many friends still call me Tony, because my English teacher started calling me Tony. And I said, it's very cool. So, and I all my life lived with the name Tony. And now I saw Antonin's Bakery. So it took me a while to adapt.
And do you feel like you have improved the quality of bread in this country, or at least in Prague?
I don't know. Definitely what I think that I started the wave that it's now very popular, not only in Czech Republic. I was surprised how many new bakeries grow up in New York, and not only in the big cities. I traveled smaller towns in the US, If you go to Germany, people really go back and want to have a high quality bakery products.
We're sitting here in your latest branch just on Náměstí Míru behind St. Ludmila's Church. It's frankly an amazing space. Can you tell us what this place is or what was here before?
You know, this place has a long history. It started as a coffee because we found out this huge painting on the wall that was covered for many, many years with white plaster, and suddenly someone uncovered this amazing painting, and that resembles transportation of the products from Orient to Europe. That's why you see the horses.
Is that the Silk Road?
I don't know. I think it was a decoration for the Café Republica because it was built during the era of First Republic. Then it served as a cafeteria or eating room for the Archbishop Gymnasium.
That's a school right beside us here.
Yeah, because it was owned by the same owners, the Sisters of Saint Francis, that's the Assisi.
And did you have to deal with the nuns to get this space? Did they lease you this property here?
It was a very, very long story. They already decided what to do here, but I said I am a better tenant. So they rethink their decision, and they had done a special, more bit competition for the tenant. And I think we persuaded them that the fit with this house and the space and what we do will fit best.
Well, given that you bake on the spot, so to speak, was this space suitable to bake in?
On the first sight, it was very difficult to imagine bakery here because the setup is a little bit complicated. But after a couple of meetings with architects and designers, we decided for this layout. We had to a little bit take out space that was designed for seating, but we said that it's more important to create atmosphere, to have the bakers, that you can see the bakers, how they prepare the bread, and that we will create more seating in front of the building where you have a fantastic view of the Náměstí Míru and the Ludmila Church, So we think that this set off this problem that we had in the beginning.
And earlier you showed me the baking area, which frankly, I don't think any baker in the world has such a lovely space to work in.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was a tough decision too, like to give such a beautiful space, this kind of engineering and baking and this industrial feel. But I think people like it, to have the atmosphere where you can feel that you are on one space. That's why also you see most of the things are very open. You can really touch the baker almost.
Also, it's a bigger space than some of your other branches. And you said there's going to be something new here that you didn't have in your previous outlets?
Yeah. The basic will remain the same, but we want to provide more things for having a small lunch or break, so we'll have a bigger choice of soups, and then special, we call it pomazánka, which is a spread, but it's a mix with salad, which is also in Czech not a salad. It's pochoutkový salad. It's really the nasty thing that you eat with the roll.
Well, the word salad in Czech is very flexible. That's all I can say.
Definitely.
Also here beside us, there's a kind of a hatch with a window, basically, that you said was also used when this was a school facility.
Yeah. We didn't know what to do with the window, but we wanted to keep the connection with the bakers, where you can see how these things are prepared. And I wanted to have a new one because we are doing the reconstruction, but I kind of like the style because in all the eateries, in all the schools, it's the same system of the window that you push it up, and you put through your school meal. And I said, let's keep it here to have the touch of the past and to remind, because so many people come here and say, oh, I remember this. So we kept it as a memory of the space.
You also have a sports clothing brand called Kinoko. And I was reading that when you began the company, you literally Googled how to start a fashion line or something like that.
Exactly. When I started, you think I always try to read something and try to learn, from people that did it before. And now the advantage of having now even AI, And I think it gives you a lot of inspiration. So yeah, I started how to start a business in fashion.
I also know that you lecture to young people about business and entrepreneurship. What are the main things that you're telling young people when you speak to them?
I first of all try to persuade them to start with mistakes. Like persuade them that if you want to do something, you must make mistakes, And that's hard because you at school, mistakes are not good. But in business, they are very important. If you want to start business and avoid the mistakes, don't start business, And you must learn from mistakes, from your own and from others. But you must go through mistakes, and failures and bad decisions and bad connections and sometimes people that just don't trust you or you don't work together very well. So this is for me the crucial point, just to learn how to cope with, if there's something that didn't work, just to say, okay, it didn't work. Let's try once more.
You're now in your 50s. When you meet these kids in their teens, do you recognize anything of yourself, your young self in them, or has the era changed so much?
Definitely the era changed because they have their mobile phones all the time with them. So it's hard to talk to them and see that they look in the phone. But I realized that I also was not listening so much at the school. It was like half and half. It's enough. I said, maybe they listen only half. It's fine. So that's one thing that definitely is so different. And then what I see is sometimes they are more open in a way that they traveled, that they have such a big experience with internet. They are global, with music, with know-how.
Language,
with language, In a way, they are a little bit more shy, because we are really, the only problem I had was how to get a cheap beer. And now they are a little bit scared, but about the planet, about the future. That's a difference.
My final question, do you have major plans for the future, or are you quite content with your business empire as it now stands?
My biggest plan is to survive the opening ceremony of this new bakery. And then I have no plans. So I have plans for next 6 days.
Many thanks indeed to Antonín Kokeš for taking time out from his busy preparations for the new bakery to speak to me for this edition of Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International. I spoke to Antonín on the 25th of April 2025, only days before the opening of the Náměstí Míru venue on the 1st of May. If you're new to the pod and enjoyed this episode, why not check out some of the earlier conversations in the series, and of course subscribe wherever you get podcasts. But that's all for now. From me, Ian Willoughby, thank you so much indeed for listening to Prague Talk, and talk to you again very soon.